and they had said that, you know, if these dating sites made actual matches, they would lose most of their customers, right? Their repeat customers, I guess. I don't know if that's, you know, their strategy. That would constitute, I think, consumer fraud in a literal sense, but I don't know if anybody's brought any class action lawsuits. Somebody else said that to me in a comment, like right after I was watching that video. So that was kind of weird, serendipitous. I don't know if they were watching the same video or if they had already come to the same conclusion, or why they were watching one of my videos that had nothing to do with this topic, since I only have one video that had to do with this topic and nobody's watched it really. So yeah, that's another angle that, you know, many people might consider already, whether they're just trying to, you know, date casually instead of seek a full real relationship. I did a long video about this already. This is just, I have more stuff that I can add just for the sake of doing it, and maybe people will see this video that didn't already see that video. So I'll try to keep this one shorter. But I had literally like 40 pages of related topic stuff, literal posts on social media from a Tinder employee. So I was specifically referring to this company on purpose as having potentially that agenda, but also this screams of just anti-male sentiment and, you know, a real bias inherent against men finding love, you know, Caucasian men finding love, older men finding love, more conservative men finding love. I mean, like, I don't know how this kind of employee culture can foster a healthy company, whether the company is oblivious or, you know, complicit. So I think it's a little bit more sinister, a little bit more nefarious, a little bit more, you know, possibly. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know about class action lawsuits or whatever, but definitely not a place I would want to put my money if I actually thought that, you know, they were going to have my best interests at heart. Seems unlikely. You know, it's kind of the typical stuff, like I said, that we've seen in other dating videos and things. You know, these women only date terrible men, and then they complain that all men are terrible. You know? And then, of course, they are female, so it's easier for them to find chads and be promiscuous and then look down on, you know, men who might be more simpy or whatever and who can't get dates that easily and want to call them names like losers or involuntarily celibate, when in fact a lot of them are voluntarily celibate because they don't want to date grody promiscuous women. They want to find real relationships and have lasting monogamous, I don't know, marriages and things. Silly them or whoever. So here was an older quote that I just turned up. Some of this stuff I might accidentally read the same stuff from the other video, but whatever, it'll be revealing stuff. Like, here's a quote from October 4th, 2018. In these dark times, I find joy in bros with an apostrophe. There shouldn't be an apostrophe there. Beginning to lose their hair. And that was another sentiment that was all men over 40 are bald and their equipment doesn't work. So a lot of this kind of stereotyping meant to be funny, but not actually, you know, funny, just performative immaturity. And what a shock. This person is over 30 and still single and has no children. And there was a very disturbing image. They did not produce this image, but they thought it worthy of resharing right after Valentine's Day, a little over a week ago, that showed that, you know, men should be especially white men, again, should be lonely, begging for love or, intimate relations. I thought it was a pretty disgusting image for the internet that is somehow allowed to be on the internet. Because I'm definitely not sharing it on YouTube. But again, shared by a crazy cat lady, basically, for lack of you want to stereotype men? Okay, well, we'll stereotype you, because for lack of your, bravado and all your big talk, that's pretty much how you've ended up so far. But again, with this individual in their posting, clearly the bedroom fun, as some have called it, is the priority, not the traditional family man, some other things I could add to that. And of course, there was another long bit about the double standards in Hollywood or whatever, that I think I already talked about, and the idea that women somehow age better than men, even though, I don't know, many men will look better at 50 than these women will look at 40. Sorry, just I'm being really polite with those age ranges, maybe in a lot of cases. There was a recent bit about, the double standard. Well, it wasn't just Hollywood. In terms of business, was saying that if men are assertive, it's confidence. If women do it, it's a problem. I spoke up for myself in a meeting yesterday, with stating my idea with confidence, like a man would. Today, my boss called me in to tell me I was unprofessional. Again, I don't know. We only get one side of the story here. And so saying that, so my question was, I'm skipping some of the chunks. We don't need to hear all of this person's blabber. My question was, okay, so did you apologize or scream at him like, a feminist? And, I assume this was a male boss. Did you tell him he was an incel and a loser too? Like other potential customers that you've ridiculed from your high horse in your overpaid job? Again, this is the actual company that's supposed to be, this is an actual employee of this company arguing, or not even arguing with their boss about their supposed political stance or whatever. Insists in plenty of other arguments that they don't exhibit masculine behavior on a normal level, even though there's video after video of women who could be this exact same woman, except many of them are physically better looking or younger or both. In many cases, older and better looking, but also possibly using TikTok filters. So, I don't want to base this on looks and that kind of thing, because there's no one-to-one comparisons or whatever. Some guys are attracted to certain things and other guys are attracted to other things. And this is not about that. But yeah, I would have loved to have been at that meeting, to see how brave and empowered you were when this situation unfolded. If it was really your sexist boss, Okay, we'll see. Then someone commented 12 minutes later or whatever. I have been reflecting a lot lately after a recent layoff. Among my previous team, 5 men, 3 women. The men, all of whom had substantially less experience, are now in leadership positions in various companies. All the women are stalled or currently unemployed. Well, maybe these men are just better at their job. Maybe these women were DEI hires and they were never good at their job. But yeah. Do these women, sit and stare at their phone all day instead of doing their actual job? I don't know. Then some of her. Oh, then another comment later. Somebody simping along that, that sucks. You are clearly brilliant in this paternalistic double standard rewards men not based on merit, but simply because of hangy down parts. Such BS. Okay, yeah, that's clearly, substantive, and I'm sure her boss is worse at his job than she is, or whatever. And she of course hearted this because all women love simps until they get dissatisfied by them when they actually try to date them or whatever. I'm assuming it's a nickname from the social media, so I assume that's a man, and whatever. Ignoring the body count question, this one. Someone had asked, "What's dating like in Los Angeles?" And her response was, "I go years in between relationships here, but I went to New York City once for 10 days and came home with a boyfriend." Okay, well, that can happen, I guess. But how'd that work out? You're not married to that boyfriend. I don't know which boyfriend that might have been out of literally dozens that, are loosely documented in spots. But I guarantee you, she probably doesn't go years without sleeping with plenty of low quality men or chads that she just doesn't consider boyfriends, right? Or has some side guy who simps along for her so she doesn't get too lonely or bored. As I said in the last video, without names and dates, I can't, speculate on any of that, with very accuracy. But this person is all over social media on several platforms, and a fair amount of it is, yeah. So then there was another one that posted, "Stop listening to women. Your life will be 1,000 times better." I don't know what they, again, yeah, that's kind of a borderline sexist comment, I guess. But a lot of women also documented, again, if you watch Alexander Grace videos, especially, they give each other bad advice. So of course they give men bad advice. In fact, the most recent video he did was about women giving younger men advice, and the younger men thinking I just watched this literally like yesterday. The younger men thinking the advice is going to help them with other women, and of course it doesn't. But her strategy here is, as usual, to gaslight and to a degree. So not all foreign men, but always a foreign man, I guess, who posts this kind of thing. I keep forgetting we share the same internet with dudes who, abuse their partners, basically. So a guy makes a statement that's kind of vague, but at least partly valid. And the the takeaway there is the, labeling, the stereotyping and such. But again, in these foreign countries, as opposed to the United States, as far as I know, their marriage and birth rates are up and increasing, and ours are down. And here our divorce rates are what's increasing, mostly by these women who then get divorced and complain that they're single because they can't find a decent man. So once again, she's just revealed her own status. And then attacking this religious one. Let's see. Again, accusing this gal who I assume is married. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about this person, but posted, "I'm a husband's girl, a feminine girl, not a feminist girl. The patriarchy is should be reinstated," kind of girl. Then pick me is just the term that non-feminine women use to describe a woman who's actually feminine because they're triggered. That seems accurate. I'll get into that in a minute. Any man knows that pick me is not an insult. Now, that, as I said in the last video, the person who's this site is coming from claims that pick me women are all losers, but then acts like one whenever a Chad who shares her political beliefs comes along and thinks that's going to work out. I'm not sure when this actual response came in, so I'm leaving it till last. But this other one, there's a 5-hour gap or a 4-hour gap, and then posts, women getting so triggered in these comments. I never said you have to be this. You can be a raging feminist. I said I am these things. They don't even care about choice. They just want to attack a woman who isn't like them. Yeah, that's accurate. And how many of them are, bots or whatever, I couldn't tell you. And if she had read this other reply, I don't know. And then a little bit later, to my feminine girlies, like and repost this if you agree. Let's show the woke lefties they can't bully us. So, okay, so there's a political bias on both sides here. They're obviously having this argument for a reason, but the reply somewhere in there, again, I don't know if it was in that 4-hour gap or after the other comment. Yeah, again, bring back the age-old tradition of abuse. That's okay, fine, haha, or whatever. As if all women, this woman obviously doesn't seem to be abused. She says she loves her husband or wants a husband that she loves. And then, so again, a hypocritical comment though, since acts like a pick-me woman anyway, but in other places does claim to have been abused in relationships and don't know that that was all conservative men, because again, your dating history would imply that you don't date or even want to date more conservative men. So when are these conservative men the ones who are abusing you in your other places where you're complaining that the guy was so mean to you about destroying his pillows or whatever the thing was? And a lot of fake Christian sentiment anyway. Calls itself a Christian, but the smart men just all run. She claims she can do better than such and such men and then never does, because again, where's your husband? Where's your family? No, there's none. At some point, she had gotten back together with an ex who didn't abuse her physically, but she insisted abused her mentally. And I don't know if that'll be relevant or not in this next segment. But again, claims that there's no good men. I think she means there's no good men who want to put up with her BS. Then, okay, there was another post. I don't know what this goes to. It says, is this true? Oh, I see. They're asking rhetorically. Okay. Or not rhetorically, or just asking the internet. Is this true? 80% of women don't want dating or marrying relationships anymore, etc. So the Tinder employees reply, I'm exhausted. When I was in my 20s, it seemed like all guys wanted was casual stuff, and it was so hard to find any guy who actually wanted something serious or was ready to settle down. Well, okay, that's kind of typical. That's why a lot of women date older men. Now I'm in my mid-30s, the older men that she bashes continually. Now I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm seeing all this content of men who are mad I didn't settle down when I was younger, as though that was even an option. I would argue that it was an option. You probably just friend-zoned a lot of guys. Again, can't get into names and dates because don't have all the names and dates, but you were definitely dating in your 20s. Again, this is somewhat documented that prior to this other guy who abused her mentally, there was a similar situation where at least two men strung her along for several years. Breaking up and getting back together was a pattern, as far as I can tell. Again, I have 40 pages of this that isn't even all of that. So, I can't, I'm taking some of this like slightly out of context that I apologize. I could be giving you the names and dates, or I'm sorry, the dates of these posts, but it's all been within the last month or so that it's what I'm reading now. But the stuff that was coming after Halloween-ish was a lot more vitriolic. This stuff is a little more just day to day, I guess. But now the men are kind of gross and prefer younger women anyway. I think most men have always preferred younger women. Maybe not that much younger. That 40-year-olds don't usually want to date college girls because they don't have anything in common. But she was also heavily active on dating apps, so of course she was meeting dating app minded guys who again are more into casual relationships, maybe more of the time. Why is she matching with men much older than her anyway? I don't know what she put in her age range versus what they put in their age range, yada yada yada. But anyway, why would I bother chasing after people I'm not even into? Just seems pointless. Well, that's kind of a leap from older men to just anybody who doesn't interest you at all. Again, they're expecting that spark that doesn't really happen. The feeling that they get with Chad, who doesn't want them, doesn't need them, and is happy to just use them, and went apparently the previous night on a Tinder date, so this might have been the day after Valentine's Day. Yes, it was. So on Valentine's Day, it was documented that the next day that they did actually go on a date with someone they met from Tinder and talked about work. Right. So was that person gross too? I don't have any information on how else that date went. But again, you are hearing a person who claims they don't date for free dinners, but definitely dates for validation, just like the gal in the Taylor Fiend video from November, I think it was. I don't need a man. I don't need a man to be happy. I don't need a man to be fulfilled. I don't need a man. Last night I went on a date with a man. It was horrible. It's like, well, why did you go on that date then if you didn't need that man? So you're not doing Tinder any favors by posting this stuff. If anybody else sees it who isn't going to make this video, they're going to think, wow, Tinder dating must be terrible. Female and male might reach that conclusion. And again, this is not the anti-female channel. I think women who use these sites to try and find a healthy relationship, again, as Alexander Grace pointed out in his video 4 days ago or whatever, they're still going to have a little bit better of a time because there's like 500 men to every 3 women or whatever. The ratio is still in the woman's favor, but a lot of the guys are going to be the scammers and the older guys that she's complaining about. So if you're, not interested in that, then okay, adjust your search thing so that they can't match with you as often. I don't know. They got the men they want and complain about. Oh, this is somebody else posting this. But this was a repost that she agreed with. Sorry. Nothing prepared me for how effing cowardly dudes in this country are. Even the successful ones turn out to be dork-ass losers 99% of the time. Our billionaires are turbo nerds who prey on children. All of them? Okay, so Warren Buffett and our sports stars are spineless, grunting chodes, misspelled, I think, who detest women and prey on children. Again, a little overgeneralization here, a little bit of stereotyping, but again, this is them agreeing with this. Our politicians are sniveling little dingle. There might be truth to some of this, not not getting political or trying not to. Who prey on children, and regular dudes defend them. Again, I don't know that's accurate at all. We make the Uvalde Police Department look like the Avengers. We're never getting reasonable health care, are we? They forgot the question mark. I don't know what they mean by reasonable health care or what that has to do with the Epstein files or anything else. But this is the kind of rant that, again, this person gravitates to. And yeah, if you don't want to date a perverted billionaire, chances are you're not going to meet very many of them anyway. So they can usually find younger, cuter women than any of the women who fall in this age range. So hate them all you want, be jealous all you want. That doesn't mean they're all dating underage women illegally, as much as that would be some narrative that, again, has nothing really to do with dating websites, because I don't think those billionaires need dating websites to attract women. So okay. But the same woman who called an involuntary celibate 19 hours ago, now is attacking this guy who, it's one of those pickup artist kind of sites that's not necessarily marriage minded or whatever, not flexing, not selling anything, just reality. It's a numbers game. And so her reply to this is actually really pathetic. Like, don't you have hobbies or interests? Your whole personality is, women's pleasure, whatever. What a loser. Well, I agree with you there. Oddly, that you've come out as this guy is a predator, and how dare he enjoy the company of women, because again, he doesn't want you, he wants a younger, prettier one. And he's trying to again, coach younger men who are into hookup culture how to be better at hookup culture, I guess. So yeah, I agree. I don't think that's healthy dating per se, but I also don't think that's how most men approach dating after their mid-20s anyway. So but this was after watching her video about needing multiple engagements per night, why she wants to date younger men when it suits her, promiscuity, and the older men just can't satisfy her all night. So why are you so mad at this Chad for being exactly what you go out with often, apparently. Right. So then someone had put, I don't have the name of the original poster here. Of course, I haven't been reading them anyway. Unpopular opinion: body count absolutely matters. Please stop pretending it does not. So many of the anti-women. Then her reply, I think. So many of the anti-women posts come from outside the U.S. I don't see this as an anti-woman post. Excuse me. And again, you mean countries where the divorce rate is way less and the marriage and birth rates are still up? Okay. But so someone had put, again, a reply or something. Please don't assume things on your own body count matters for both men and women. I don't know how, somewhere in there, I don't know how this is anti-women again, but It's anti-women because it's her reply. It's anti-women because it's dehumanizing. A woman in her lifetime can have every intention to perhaps marry the first man she is with. Now, nobody ever said the first man again. Well, certain religious sects, but for the most part, in the contemporary era, that's not really expected of women anymore. Again, she goes immediately to hyperbole. Um, every intention perhaps to marry the first man she is with, but this doesn't always happen. Yeah, nobody said it would happen every time because we can't control life. Again, straw man argument. Okay. Boyfriends cheat or husbands die or become abusive. Okay, so has your husband died? No. Have you had boyfriends who cheated? Maybe. But that, again, that's the men you pick. Might say more about you, again, like these other sites are always saying. Or become abusive. So the husband, if the husband lives, he becomes abusive. Better that he's dead, I guess. That the husband that you don't have. And women have to move on. Okay, so again, we know she didn't have to move on from a dead husband. She might have had to move on from a cheating or even abusive boyfriend. Again, don't have all the names and dates, but yeah, if you moved on, then how many have you had in your bed since this first one? A lot, it seems. By my own count, I can only get to this number, but it might be 2 or 3 times that at this point. I don't know. Relationships end. Yes, we know. This is part of the human journey. So to diminish, but again, a lot of those arranged marriages are still together and yours aren't. So, if they're from a foreign country, their batting average is clearly better than yours, empowered woman. So to diminish someone's value because their life journey wasn't perfect is cruel. And yes, anti-women. No, it's not, because again, you didn't have to take all these chads into your bedroom that you then complained were horrible for one reason or another, or abused you even, or cheated on you even. Again, why most people are saying you're supposed to be married before you're that intimate. If you're really committed and all that, then you wouldn't be just shacking up with half a dozen dudes or more every half a decade or so. And it's not necessarily diminishing their value as a person so much as diminishing their value as a prospective dating partner, which is how selection works. Obviously, you keep getting selected in the not you category. Wonder why that might be. Women are not cars with mileage, they are people. Aw, that's a sweet little metaphor or analogy or whatever. But again, you all throw men under the bus for being too old, too short, too Caucasian, even though she only dates, again, according to her profile, pretty much Caucasian dudes who all kind of look like me in the photo that was in the previous post. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm older. My mom was with 2 guys in 30 years. She's been with 30 guys in 2 years, as far as anybody knows. That's part of the problem. Hookup culture, yes, it won't suit women as well as it suits men. It might be a little bit of a double standard, I guess. But most of the men these days you're calling incels, so obviously they're not betting 80 women a year or whatever. This guy, 65 girls last year was the part I left out, or accidentally or whatever. And that number might be inflated. I don't know if he's meaning all the way hookups, but I think so, as opposed to just, making out at a bar or whatever. My mom says people get married when they're ready. By ready, I think she means give up, or as I like to call it, sufficiently broken. So again, this is your belief on marriage from 2018, which hasn't changed at all. And along with all men over 40 are bald and impotent. Well, guess what? Men under 30 don't date women over 30 that much, unless you're, I don't know, Madonna apparently, and you have zillions of dollars, and the guy is just glad to be a kept man, which you don't hear her complaining about that, even though not for me. A lot of these anti-women accounts on Threads are just people from. So this is from. There's no date here. Oops. Usually I'm pretty good at dating these. But anyway, this is from the last week or so, I think. These anti-women accounts, again, okay, that's not necessarily what they all are. They're more anti-promiscuous women. Again, women over 30 who don't have a clue, might not be who they're actually talking to. They might be trying to talk to younger women who might want to remain a little more pure and chaste if they want to be married and actually have a lasting relationship. Don't end up like Cat Lady. Just people from places that haven't received the feminism update yet. Yes, the feminism update has done you so well, serviced your life so wonderfully. They're basically operating on Nokias while we're on philosophical iPhones. Now, this is when somebody starts arguing with her. It's hilarious. So GP says, so you're saying your philosophy is overpriced and well behind the technological curve? Then somebody else chimes in, best of, I don't know if you know how to read words in English, but no, she said something very different. GP, no, she didn't. She implied the iPhone was at the bleeding edge. Sorry, it really ain't. Or it really isn't. Sorry, I guess I'm paraphrasing more than I'm quoting. So then she finally chimes in. I'm saying y'all are prehistoric, actually, like not even dinosaurs. Y'all are effing amoebas, lol, LOL, laugh out loud. Okay, fine, but you're, a grody spinster with no family, according to your own posts. So the dinosaur men are, again, the ones she's supposedly not chasing. Some other miracle man exists that she never ever finds. But I love this guy already. No, I'm not. GP comes back. No, I'm not prehistoric. For a start, I'm advanced enough to understand that your analogy was very poor and that you need to try much harder if you're going to try to use a clever analogy to make your point. Yes, she is terrible at that often, for sure, as I pointed out. So then she comes back. This isn't the SATs, you big dork. My analogy being simple doesn't change the fact that you're a sad little man whose D and ego are too weak to treat women with respect. I don't know what was disrespectful that he said there at all. And then she says, pathetic. He's the dork. I don't know. You're the loser loon with the massive body count, as far as I can tell. But she goes immediately to ad hominem attack, obviously. Again, how was he not respectful? Pointing out that you're an idiot in with a crap argument is just a thing that happens on the internet, and especially when you put yourself out there as often as, again, there's like hundreds of pages of this nonsense. Then there's another, let's see, this is okay, this is from a longer political argument that I won't go into, and this person does go and call her names because her original stance was calling other people names. So again, more stereotyping and more back and forth. But then again, bragging about her amazing job, where apparently her boss doesn't think she's as amazing as she was last week. LOL, my corporate jobs and investment portfolio say otherwise. Dorks. Okay, so I'm leaving out big chunks here. Again, I don't know how this isn't some form of consumer fraud, because this is clearly a toxic employee and clearly a toxic business model, again, based on this entire, like I said, not a company I want to endorse or ever give my dollars to. Her stocks should love the current administration, then, I guess, because they're going to benefit. Are you going to give all that money away or donate it? Since the proceeds are dirty, villainous. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. Hopefully this doesn't get stricken down, but again, that's what they've been saying for page after page after page of other stuff that I wasn't reading. The argument about the women and the men being the fine wine, but they're aging with a filter is still aging. Surprise, did I read this last time? Maybe. Older single women aren't single because we're not cute. The men get older and grosser while we mostly stay cute. It's by choice. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. Again, I don't know. Many of the younger men have said that she's not that cute, and the smart ones are already all married anyway. They don't want somebody with a 40 or 50 body count that shacks up all the time to marry very often either, even if you are still attractive. Again. But then she came back with this one. If you're a nice man, I apologize for crapping on your aging appearance. You can't help it. Well, neither can you, honey. Newsflash. All the Botox in the world won't save you forever. Look at, again, Madonna. Yikes. What the hell's going on there? But we both know many men deserve to be crapped on literally and figuratively. Oh, so we're not just going figuratively, but you literally have some kink thing going on, I guess. Why would these men deserve any of that more than you do? Again, because you don't like their dating habits, or you just don't like the fact that they wish they could meet somebody younger and attractive or the same age and attractive. Again, in the eye of the beholder, again, I'm trying not to spend too much time on that because it doesn't really have anything to do with, and not to a degree. I mean, I pointed out previously that, obviously there's a certain shallow element to any of these dating sites. Again, and the women, again, must be so tall, must be so fit, must be this and that. But yeah, go be single then. Nobody's stopping you from being a spinster. And in many ways, you are the loser. And you chase chads again, which proves you're a hypocrite that needs validation. And this posting, pretending it's a political stance is really just dopamine hits for you, for your bipolar disorder or whatever. But then someone comes in and agrees with her, and so she hearts all their simp comments, but didn't put a heart there for some reason. Once again, Chad will never ever care about you, and a simp will never ever satisfy you. So, yeah. Then someone else put, no apologies needed. Lots of a-holes out there, which again, she had said she was trying to not target for a change the people who weren't assholes, and then she hearts this. So again, once again, conflating all men with these men who have treated her badly, or she perceives would treat her badly, that she doesn't even, date. Are any of these a-holes worse than her? Fat chance. Both of these two are clearly liars. And she won't apologize for being totally offensive to any strangers either. On other points, I thought, let's see, kind of redundant, plenty of vids. Oh, okay, I already read this from the other video. Okay. Like I said, some of this might be accidentally redundant. Oh, and I'm already at 40 minutes, so not shorter by much. And I didn't even get to the stuff 14 pages down yet. This is all the new stuff, so I might have to do a part 3 after all, even though I thought I had plenty of good stuff. So this was from before Valentine's Day. These women hate men and don't deserve our respect like proper women. Somewhere in here, I don't know, the notes are kind of jumbled. Another false equivalence, conflation fallacy. Most women aren't this type of person. the memo or whatever she said. A weak argument again about men want to stay in power only to abuse this power. But most of the women in Congress are abusive loons. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what. I thought, there was a video, a TikTok video that I thought got flagged that was about this politics stuff. Yeah, so I don't really want to go into this too much. Questioning male leadership again, as if all the boss babes are the ones that are making everything perfect. So this would have gone into the feminism and matriarchy argument. I might have already read this. I don't remember. But I'm not going to go into this here. Okay. Sorry. So that was a bunch of extra junk. Again, I don't know if this video will be in trouble for using the P word or not. I don't know what you're able to discuss when you're quoting other stuff. So, so this is about the pick-me women when we get a little farther down. The ones, these politicians were defeated by female voters, according to Stephen. And yeah, the ones that grew brains since the previous election, that is. If they're so oppressed, how are they? Okay, so this is my quote on her. I thought I read this already. The women defeated in the elections. So again, the same victimhood mentality, hypocrisy. Just after she argues about how these women are so much more qualified than all the men, but they're oppressed at the same time. So how are they allowed in politics at all? How are they allowed to run for office? How are you allowed to keep your overpaid job still? Then there was a long chunk, this Bitcoin stuff, where it's more anti-man language, but not necessarily about dating. I read that. Okay. So going down, skipping way down. Oh, oops, skipping too far down. Sorry. Okay, page 13. eHarmony. Yes, okay, I read all that. Okay, this was in the last video. Okay, yes. Stuff about people. Like I said, I don't remember if I read all of this. I think I read most of this. eHarmony, inherent bias. Uses alias, but I read that. Constantly brags about education, resume, and salary, and some personal spending habits, but does not want to date man who makes less than her. Again, that paradox that they've set up this world where the men all make less, and then they complain that the men don't make enough. Again, back to the superficial tendencies of the dating site that the women want to ignore while pretending that the men are all the shallow and superficial ones. Okay, so read all this. So again, we have to question whether she's giving bogus data to keep men from finding romance partners and steal their money on false hope, or if that's the company's strategy to begin with and they're all for it. I don't know. But again, either or, they're incompetent or they're corrupt, which is worse. The gut-filled paradigm, right? Her 50 matches in here somewhere. Chad, question mark. At least one failed relationship prior to holidays again. I must have read that already. Blocks all sane people from commenting, then complains about being in an echo chamber. So more hypocrisy. Yeah, I had questioned if guys always throw engagement rings at her, because earlier she was talking about these husbands who are dead or abusive that she is not married to. More projection and all hypothetical situations. Like, okay, if your whole life is a hypothetical situation, then why are you dating at all? Like, again, if you are content being alone and so happy with yourself, you're only doing it for validation. Stop. Go be alone with your pets. This, I don't remember if I read this, but this is not really relevant. Okay, no good men because they just hate men, according to. Oh, sorry, that's my reaction. Farmer said, I always see people posting about the good men in Hollywood. Oh, okay, I totally read all of this. Sorry. Okay, I gotta go past this. Men should boycott until they fire all their woke employees because they're biased against men, older men. Yeah, okay, that was the beginning of the last one. How can they be a neutral company or wants broader base for actual matchmaking instead of just personal data harvest, fraud, scam? Don't know. Apparently now what do they do with your data? Again, I said I didn't want them to have my data, not just my money. Gloating about how much she makes, statistically more educated. Yeah, we went into all this. Okay. Oh, here we go. I think I skipped this. So this is getting a little more political again, but really going straight to the meat of it. I thought I'd read this already, but maybe not. This was from January. I'd never F a Republican. Okay. Well, first off, she likely already has, or supposedly these Republicans are all the ones who've been abusing her, who refuse to die on her. Good thing I'm not a Republican, I guess. Right, was my joke. All she's good for, maybe speculation, but did that with just about everything else. Okay, we're skipping that. Okay. Yeah, clearly there are so many leftists lining up to marry her when all she does is complain about the men in California all being cheaters or only want to have multiple partners, and whether they're upfront about it or not, happens to her apparently every single time or almost every time that she ends up the side piece, and just can't figure out why. I don't know why these women don't just put, if they're so proud of their body count, just like put it on a name badge and wear it on your first date then when you meet a new guy and see what happens, how little it really matters to them. These, you'll figure out which ones are Chads right away anyway. The hit and quit guys will just add notches to your belt as they go because that's all they want to do. And you have been wittingly or unwittingly complicit in this and can't figure it out, but then accusing the other men who don't behave like that of judging you too harshly. Okay, they're smart enough to ghost her and run pretty often, apparently. So Vanilla says, bold of you to even think that was an option. In other words, dating a man who wants a quality woman that isn't this. Right. Her BFF beer guy. Oh, she was having some arguments with her supposedly conservative friend who may or may not be one of her past lovers and or simps. I'm not exactly positive where this person falls into the categories. Again, might be her backup plan that always goes to while complaining how much it would never ever date a Republican, but has political discussions with this person frequently and likely dated or still dates. And so then Pitsy comes in and says, it looks like you have tried them all, so you would know. Yeah, she definitely does have quite an extensive experience with Chads as documented. Again, I don't have names and dates for all of that. Her reply to this is just a Simpsons GIF comedy clip or something that basically proves the point that she knows she's a hypocrite with, again, a just anti-man agenda that I'm positive I read all of this already. Oh, okay. Sorry about this. I'm getting to where I think I left off because I think, like I said, I read some of that already. So once again, I think I'm going to have to cut this short before I go into so we're stopping at page 17 out of now it's 70, but a lot of that extra 30 pages is not relevant stuff. It's just stuff I added here instead of putting it in a different file. It's religion and politics. So again, nothing we really want to go into too much. But I want, okay, let me, going back to the guy who, the Valentine's Day, who ghosts her and drives her insane. There was this bit, something about nightlife. I had talked about some of that before already. But claiming that the men that she meets are emotionally unavailable, but she was emotionally unavailable for a long time, so was attracting those men. So again, took a little bit of accountability on this earlier date, 2024 maybe, but then went back straight to its old ways. So having a nightlife instead of a real one. Again, if you were a mother with a husband, you would be home watching Little Mermaid, not worrying about all this. 15 years of emotionally unavailable men and have learned nothing, apparently. Act superior all the time in plenty other situations, entitled, but also the detachment word. I read this, some of it. A lot of the women who, another one of these foreign posters. A lot of the women who flex being kid-free can only flex because you had an abortion. Again, I'm not going into that too much, but she had a rebuttal about being cautious for over a decade. Again, with so many partners, it's not even worth counting at this point. And you would have had the abortions if necessary, but again, that's not here nor there. But keeps insisting that it wants children. Well, you had plenty of opportunities to have children, but didn't want to have them in a single parent situation, apparently. Okay. But again, I don't know why it was so much harder for you to find any decent man than any other woman on the face of the earth. She didn't say all, by the way, just a lot, which can be accurate. Also, I thought you had no intimate relationships last year because all the men were so gross, but now all of a sudden, again, must have a backup plan in there that you just don't mention in your regular posts about terrible men. All men are terrible except for this simp that, fits me in every third week or whatever. He's around. But doesn't fit her pick me criteria or whatever. So someone put, leave a message. Okay, so this was before Valentine's Day. Someone had posted, leave a message for someone, but don't mention their name. Well, the first thing she did was, it's been over a year, text me, exclamation point, in parentheses, he won't see this because he's blocked, LOL. Okay, I don't know why then you would be wanting to get back. There was two people that this could potentially be about, and I'm pretty sure it's about, again, the one that supposedly abused her. So how this is funny, I don't know. Weird that she would bring this up, you know. And it was actually less than a year because, again, Valentine's Day, we have documentation that you were somewhat in touch. But she was accusing him of cheating on his wife at the time, potentially. So yeah, good luck with that. Maybe he'll find you after all. Chances are he's not as interested in coming back as you think or wish they would be. Just like none of these other men has apparently really ever come back much. So then Emmanuel asks this, LOL, why would you want him to text you if you blocked him? Because she's stupid. She doesn't know what she really wants. There's plenty of, again, speculative reasons I could give for that. And then Shelly says, also curious, seems like this can be easily resolved. Yeah, just unblock him and message him, you know, problem solved. You want to go back to your abuser, nobody's stopping you. Then Lily says, typical. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, Lily just says typical. Yeah, it's typical. They complain that there's no good men, you know, instead of just admitting that she hates men and is single because this is a problem for her. So yeah, that's. So then somebody had put in quotes, modern feminism is a disease, a mental illness, you know, they mean. And her reply is, we have to get these secretly gay cavemen off the internet, for F's sake. Right. So yeah, more gaslighting. Again, a losing strategy that was used in the last election that Bill Maher keeps calling out, that they keep reverting to. You know, I don't know that this is a good quality man per se, again, because this is just a blanket statement, but again, an accurate statement from the, you know, a pretty literal point of view, because again, we have 40 pages of this and I haven't even barely read all of them. But you know, this again, person gets so upset when you know, classify them as dirty, you know, and or used or any of those kind of sentiments. But yeah, it's the straight men who approach her that are the gay ones now. Okay, right, that's clearly the problem. Then she goes after the guy in the gym with the cavemen with the good bod Chad guy, is the one she keeps showing her pictures to, you know, I guess as a joke, or maybe she wants to date them in the short term and just doesn't want to admit it. But yeah, you're nearly 40 and irrelevant. They were all heaping on her about other her non-professional hobbies or whatever, or semi-professional. So that's a different. So yeah, I'm not going to go into all this. Okay, I'm like I said, I'm definitely gone over time of what I was planning to talk about in this without even getting to all of the stuff I wanted to get to. But an hour, I said it was going to be shorter. Here it's longer, but whatever. Because like I said, I got bogged down probably rereading certain things, and nobody will have made it this far, so it doesn't matter how I end this. Except that you don't have to watch it all at once. You can watch it in chunks, and then it will be shorter, right? And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. Maybe I was going to do one of these as a live stream and Q&A kind of thing, but we'll see if anybody even watches any of this, because the last one, like I said, maybe this one will take you to that one, since that one is shorter now. Who knows? So happy hunting, and again, yeah, don't use this site if you don't want to encounter this kind of woman, I guess. Or pay this kind of person's salary, more to the point.